I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order, please. Here for, what are we, April 22nd, 2013. For all those in our TV viewing audience, we did not meet in February and or March, but are here this evening. We will start first with, let's see, I already called this to order, so we can do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. If anyone has a cell phone, please turn it off before Judd gets mad at me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. See, there was a reason for that.
He was working on it.
Geez, this chair, somebody has rearranged this chair with tilt and stuff. Okay.
Who else sits there?
Roll call, please.
There you go.
Okay, Barnett, absent. Champlin, absent. Van Lente, absent. Smith.
Here.
Peterson, absent. Schichtel.
Here.
Greg.
Here.
Fent.
Here.
Putman.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you. Hopefully everyone kind of skimmed this evening's agenda, again for April 22nd, 2013. Just need an approval on that for this evening.
Move to approve the minutes from January.
Mr. Smith, seconded by Mr. Schichtel. Roll call, please.
This is to approve the minutes, correct?
Approve agenda, sir. That's what my sheet says, agenda.
All right, I want to make sure, because I thought Mr.
I'm reading this tonight, so you can't catch me.
Okay, this is the agenda. Motion by Smith, supported by Schichtel, to approve tonight's agenda. Greg?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Schichtel?
Yes.
Fent?
Yes.
And Putman?
Yes, sir.
It's approved.
Thank you.
And we have to approve the minutes from previous.
Oh, that's coming. Okay. See, I used to wing it, and then he commented. I mean,
Hey, you did a pretty good job.
Are there any public comments this evening? No? Okay. Thanks for being here. Now I need an approval of the January 28, 2013 meeting minutes, please.
I move we accept the minutes of January 28th.
Mr. Smith, seconded by
Support.
Mr. Gregg. Roll call, please.
Motion by Smith, supported by Greg, to approve the meeting minutes of January 28th, 2013. Fent?
Yes.
Schichtel?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Putman?
Yes.
Okay, they're approved.
Wonderful. Thank you. We have no public hearings this evening. We have no new business this evening. We're revisiting old business of off-premise signs, and Mr. Adams will take over.
Thank you. I'm just going to give you a very brief overview, you might say, of really what we're here to deal with tonight. Essentially, what I'm going to go over is really the only issue that's left, so to speak, and let me get this moving. Okay. We're dealing with off-premise signs tonight, and these are essentially referred to as off-premise encroaching signs, and I'll get into that in a second. What is an off-premise sign? We've talked about this before, and let me read this. The ordinance defines off-premise advertising, or an off-premise advertising sign, as any sign erected for the purpose of advertising a business, product, event, person, or subject not relating to the premises on which the sign is located. And here's a little example: Sam's Bait and Tackle Shop. No such tackle shop that I'm aware of. It's located on Stanton Road, which is a mile north. If this sign, for example, were located downtown, let's say on the sidewalk, or if it were located on your property at your house, let's say, which it's not allowed to be, by the way, but it doesn't relate to in this case, the sidewalk or the property that's owned by the city sidewalk, nor would it relate to your property in which your house is located. So it's known as an off-premise sign. The most typical off-premise sign that you'll probably see throughout the country are billboards. Those are all, for the most part, not all, but for the most part, are off-premise signs. And then periodically in other locations you'll see different other forms, I should say, of off-premise signs. Again, the off-premise signs that we're primarily dealing with tonight, or that we are dealing with, are what are called encroaching off-premise signs, and those are signs that are located in the public right-of-way with the permission of City Council historically. And in terms of public right-of-way, that might be downtown sidewalks at intersections, for example. Let's say at the corner of Cass and Mitchell. Might be other public sidewalks and intersections elsewhere. Once in a while, it might be a tree lawn area. That's that green belt between the street and a sidewalk. Might be in a city park. For example, if you've noticed the clock tower at the intersection of Cass and Mitchell, you'll notice, or maybe you've noticed, a bunch of little pinwheels. Okay, those are approved by the City Council as part of an organizational request, nonprofit request. And in other city properties, if signs were to be located there, it would be considered public right-of-way. So in order for a sign at the current time to be placed within the public right-of-way, other than like traffic signs and governmental signs, requires City Council approval. And at this moment, the only signs basically that the City Council can consider are signs that reflect essentially nonprofit organizations. A faith-based organization, the school, maybe it's a civic organization, and so forth. There's two basic sign categories that we're going to be talking about briefly tonight. There are signs that are associated with nonprofits. These photographs, by the way, are not from the city of Cadillac. For example, although we have something similar to this, this happens to be a United Way sign. United Way is a nonprofit organization that provides public benefit to a number of organizations throughout a community. And in our case, in the city of Cadillac, annually you've probably seen the thermometer signs placed at 3 locations. And historically, every year, the United Way has come to the city, requested of the City Council permission to place those signs, for example, at the intersection of Cass and Lake, as you go around where the AMBES is located, and near the City Park and Rotary Performing Arts Pavilion. That's one of the locations they typically will ask for. And those signs are up for a short period of time during United Way's fundraising program. And then there are signs that are associated with what we call profit-making businesses. This one happens to be the Campos Barber, or the Campos Barber Shop, which I have no idea where that would be located, but here you see it's on a public sidewalk with an arrow pointing that it's that way. So those are off-premise encroaching signs. One's a nonprofit, one is a sign that's associated with, in this case, a profit-making organization. In terms of nonprofits, the way the proposed ordinance is structured, what is a nonprofit, or how do we list or define nonprofits? How do we classify nonprofits? And the way it's set up, the ordinance reads, nonprofit agencies and organizations that are registered with the Internal Revenue Service as such, as a nonprofit, and other charitable agencies and organizations exempt from paying income and property taxes who are centered around religious, that could be faith-based, but we've left it religious, educational, or other public interest activities that are philanthropic in nature. So it's kind of a broad encompassing, but invariably it's not related to a profit-making entity. The way that the current ordinance reads, that if a nonprofit, one of those organizations, wanted to put a sign in the public right-of-way somewhere within the city, they could do that in any of the zoning districts, provided they receive City Council approval. And there are some standards that they have to meet in terms of out of clear vision zones, setbacks, and so forth. But again, you've not had any issues with those. Essentially, the ordinance permits these signs right now. This is really not a change other than we've embellished what we classify as a nonprofit. These signs are permitted now within the public right-of-way in all zoning districts, subject to council approval. So if you were to recommend the off-premise sign ordinance that you've had in front of you for some time. Essentially, this would not be a change from anything that, this would be similar, very similar to what's been done in the past. This does really not reflect a change. The other parties, the for-profit entities, this is where the change comes in. Essentially, what would happen is, if these are permitted, is that for-profit signs would be permitted in commercial and office districts. Again, any commercial or office district, and also the B2, the downtown district, which is really where most of the requests, virtually all the requests, are for. Individuals want to place a sign at one of the downtown intersections. And this is saying, okay, yeah, the city council could consider it. However, if it were to be placed in the downtown, it would be restricted to the following intersections: the Pine Street, Mitchell Street intersection, the Cass Street, Mitchell Street intersection, and the Chapin Street, Mitchell Street intersection. Why those three intersections? Well, a couple of reasons. This particular suggestion happened to come from Mr. Schichtel, by the way, Commissioner Schichtel. Not these particular streets, but he did have the idea of, maybe if we could narrow it or limit it to certain intersections. And the reason for these three intersections is they are the three intersections that are the ones that are commonly requested. Once in a while, the Harris-Mitchell Street intersection, but 99% of the time, it's these, one or more of these intersections are the ones that are requested. And again, this would be subject to council approval. This currently, other than areas outside the downtown where such signs are currently permitted with council approval, off-premise encroaching signs by profit-making organizations are not allowed in the downtown, in the B2 district. That's the change, okay? That is the change that you're dealing with, is you would allow, or if you were to recommend this, and city council ultimately, if they approved it, would permit the opportunity for profit-making organizations to have a temporary sign of some type in the downtown, in this case, at one or more of those intersections. So that's where the change is coming in. Those are the three intersections, by the way. Kind of spaced, not necessarily uniformly, but they're in the heart of the downtown. I need to emphasize or bring up again, and I think I may have put this in your packet, the Downtown Development Authority, the DDA, which is comprised of downtown business owners and property owners, primarily business owners. They've looked at this a number of times. They are opposed to a change that would allow signs in the downtown associated with profit-making organizations. And I just listed a few of the reasons why. Number one, they would like to maintain the existing ordinance, the ordinance standards regarding off-premise signs. Don't have an issue with signs of nonprofits and so forth. They feel that the allowance of off-premise commercial signs is in conflict with the businesses that are operating on Mitchell Street. And let me elaborate a little bit on that. Some of their concern is the fact that if you have purchased, let's say, a building on Mitchell Street, or if you're paying rent on Mitchell Street, you're probably paying top dollar. I'll say it that way. You're paying taxes. You are paying other assessments as well if you're in the downtown. There's an extra almost $2 million assessment that's part of being in the DDA. You're also paying a parking maintenance special assessment. So in addition to your normal taxes and other operating costs and so forth, and they just feel that those businesses that are on Mitchell, need to have, I don't want to call it a privilege, that's not it, but they feel that by allowing other businesses not located on Mitchell to have signs downtown, that they're not in agreement with that. And recognize, too, that if the change would occur, it would allow any nonprofit to come to the city So I could, for example, Jerry's Restaurant, I'm located in one of the townships, for example. There's nothing that would prevent me from coming to city council and saying, look, I meet your standards, I would like to have a sandwich board sign, maybe it's on the weekends or something, at the corner of Cass and Mitchell, announcing Jerry's Restaurant, located 5 miles north. You can't prohibit that kind of, or that individual from coming in this case me, let's say. I don't have a restaurant, by the way. But, so that's an issue. And they point out that there are other ways to advertise a location. In addition to signs, there's, the newspaper, there's flyers, there's the internet, Facebook, the social networks, et cetera, et cetera. So they are not in favor. And let's see, okay, so really, what you're being asked to do tonight is this will end up being a recommendation to the Cadillac City Council, and it really boils down to whether or not you want to recommend an ordinance change that would allow off-premise encroaching signs for profit-making organizations to be placed in the downtown. That's really what you're doing tonight. Now, your recommendation would be the entire sign package, okay? Again, which you've already gone over the other elements,
Right.
You have not had any problems with. It's just the issue of, do you want to recommend allowing the signs of profit-making organizations in the downtown at those 3 intersections or elsewhere, or not? That's really the dilemma that you're dealing with.
So we can recommend to the council excluding profit or including
Yes,
profit?
yes.
You said the whole package, and that was in there.
Well,
Well, 'cause
it's the whole package.
Right.
But with
But those
any
two.
if, let's say you were going to exclude, it would recommend the proposed the sign regulations as proposed, excluding the allowance of signs in the downtown, or excluding signs associated with profit-making organizations, and I'll know what you're getting at.
Okay.
I don't know if Louis, Mr. Richardson, I know it's not a public hearing tonight, we've already had that, but I don't know, Louis, if you want to say anything, or don't want to put you on the spot.
Oh, well, we have our 501c3, we are a nonprofit,
Sweet.
and we've been raising money for Depression Bipolar Support Alliance, and that's our whole purpose of being down there to begin with. And so we've been employing people who spend money, and everybody pays taxes, and it's all good, but we just got our DBSA. We just got our nonprofit 501c3 like last November. So we've been supporting it out of my own pocket, which I don't have a lot of. I don't have a lot of pocket. So we were hoping for this to go through, so anything, and we're not trying to step on anybody's shoes. I would not want to see, like, the Shepherd's Table have to take their sign down, or the farmer's market. We just needed some help, and that's why this all started. Thank you.
Good.
You should mention
You
too,
need
the
his-
farm market,
No, you don't. Do you need his
We've
name
got
and
the
address on
yeah,
anything?
interestingly, the farm market has recently been approved for this year, including the signs, and they're now falling under the auspices of the Downtown Cadillac Association. They're a sponsored event, and so the applicant in this case actually was the Downtown Cadillac Association in concert with the farm market, so made things a little easier.
Yeah, agreed. Do you need Louis' information on,
I have it.
Live.
I have it, yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
okay, so that helps us a ton. My personal views, I agree with the DCA about, yeah, if you're not on Main Street, you're not gonna be. I personally agree with that.
So you're against the profit? Yes. I would go along with what John's saying.
Can I ask a couple questions before we get going? Sir, did you say you're a nonprofit?
He is now.
Okay, so that allows him to have a sign.
It would still, if he's a
Still-
nonprofit, he would still have to go to council,
Correct.
just like any organization does, and they would be the ones considering the request and making the approval or denial, depending upon compliance, obviously, with the standards of the ordinance.
Okay, so anybody who joins the DDA would be allowed to do this through the DDA, or?
No. The
nonprofit.
DDA, the Downtown Development Authority, because they essentially represent the downtown area, they wanted to weigh in, they were asked to weigh in on their thoughts about having off-premise signs in the essentially signs on the Mitchell Street sidewalk in the downtown that were reflective of profit-making businesses not located along Mitchell Street.
Okay, so would the farmer's market be a nonprofit?
Farmers Market it falls under the nonprofit auspices of the Cadillac, or of the Downtown Cadillac Association.
And now so does Louis, so.
That's cool. No, that's
Right.
cool. I just want to, fair and square, everybody's the same. That's all I ask.
Okay.
Because I think, you, sir, are the one that started this, oh golly, last fall?
I spent a lot longer.
Well, I mean, with us, it started last fall, so I'm glad you're here. Because now I can put a face to a name. And is there, when the signs go out, is there an hours they can be out there? So if it's a sandwich board sign, as you call them, will they have to come off the sidewalk at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or something like that?
Typically, the ordinance, the proposed ordinance, the existing, but more importantly, the proposed has standards, and typically, when the council approves these, they're approved based on a series of conditions, and the conditions generally are geared towards essentially the needs of the organization. And pretty much, though, the signs tend to be limited to the hours of operation, for example, of the business. Can't be there overnight, have to be properly located, secured, and so forth. And one of the issues we've been dealing with signs on the sidewalk, anybody that has a corner property in the downtown, they're subject to what's called a clear vision zone. That is, MDOT, the Michigan Department of Transportation, does not allow or want us to put signs right at the intersection by the street because it impacts vehicular traffic, the clear vision. So in fact, we just sent out a letter about a week ago, I think, to all businesses and intersection property owners, reminding them that you need to move those signs back. It can't be, and we also sent them a map, in fact, of the approximate clear vision zone that affected or impacted their business. And but even if, take Mr. Richardson, for example, if he wanted to put a sign, let's say he received approval to put a sign at the corner of Cass and Mitchell, he too would have to comply with the clear vision requirements. He would have to be set back. Give you an example. I don't want to pick on you, Louis.
Okay.
You can see there's Louis' sign right there right now, for example. That is in a clear vision area. He didn't know that at the time, okay? But it would have to be moved back.
I have a question with the new one that I saw today on corner of Harris and Mitchell. Their building technically is on Harris?
It's on both.
I know, yeah, okay,
They have moved their sign back, by the way.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And we're not going to dictate anything other than the fact that, yes, they will do this, or no, they can do that. Council dictates all the terms.
What you're going to do, Commissioner Finn, is essentially you're going to recommend approval of the proposed changes to section 46-664 of the sign ordinance. And if you want to exclude the allowance of signs associated with profit-making organizations in the right-of-way, or essentially,
I have a huge problem.
that would be the motion.
Excluding profit?
No,
Oh.
no, having them there, because they don't pay any taxes
There.
whatsoever.
I'm on that page. John's on that page.
Okay.
Mr. Gregg's on that page. So I'd entertain a motion then.
Mr. Smith, I think it seems like you guys elected me last
Mr.
night.
Smith.
I think it's your turn to do a motion. Got anything to say about it?
Does anybody have any comments yet?
Joe, you good?
Yeah, I'm thinking both ways. And I would hate to see people of Cadillac having permission to put up yard sale signs with the sandwich board. Some people run, like a continual flea market out of their yard.
They can't do that, Joe, they're not supposed to.
It's against ordinance.
Against the ordinance.
Okay, so that would eliminate them from getting a sign.
No, it would, well, yes and no. If you wanted to have like a garage sale, it's handled under another section of the ordinance in the signs and so forth. Theoretically, the signs are illegal. The problem is, somebody puts up a sign up Friday night for a garage sale Saturday, it's probably not going to be caught. Now, if it were a perpetual garage sale with a perpetual sign, it would get caught, and they would be required to remove the sign, as well as limit the amount of days they can have the garage sale. And we've done that in the past. We're not going to be impacting or hurting garage sale folks here.
No.
What would happen if there were two people applied for an off-premise sign at the same location? One was nonprofit and one was for-profit.
If
I mean, if we pass this package,
If the intersection, let's say, was vacant, so to speak, didn't have a sign there right now, it would be first come, first served.
so...
And I don't really see that as an issue right now. It's never been an issue in the past. Not been an issue in the past, but if it was an issue, it would be first come, first served.
Is there anything in the writing here of this new proposal that would give the city council discretion? Like if, like the example you used, advertise a restaurant you started, halfway between Cadillac and Manton.
Right?
My thinking would be that wouldn't be for the general interest of the people
No.
of Cadillac.
Those are my
And therefore,
feelings too.
it should be denied. But if you were, opened a new barber shop, somewhere on the north end of North Mitchell, and you wanted people to be aware of it, that might be a benefit to the
Might
community.
make the downtown barber and the salon keepers a little bit angry.
I just,
It's a tough call, because we want to be cognizant of the economic needs of people, but in a case like that, there are a host of other opportunities for advertising. I mean, if you just want to take advantage of them. I mean,
There's other ways.
signs are just one type.
Right.
Right.
I feel, for example, the farmer's market is a benefit to the community.
Right.
And I know they pulled the strings of coming under this other, umbrella that would, enable them to do the advertising and meet the standards.
They took the initiative.
That's right.
And so did Louis.
Went to the organization. The organization's board took it under advisement, consideration, felt it was of benefit to the downtown, felt it was a general public benefit, as well as a benefit to downtown merchants, and so decided to pull them under their wing, much like they do with the art festival. That falls under the Downtown Cadillac Association as well.
So there could be other events and/or,
Sure.
business